Good morning. How are you doing today? Good. All right, so I think we're on until 10:30. Okay. I'll try not to be too long-winded. Lovely side, Galasasas, Tana Atchley. My name is Tana Atchley, and I grew up out here. So some of you I know, and some of you I don't. I graduated from Chilton High School a long time ago. And it's always nice to come back home, especially during my birthday week. So, thank you. Why are we here today? Right, we're here to celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day. And this is the second year that the state of Oregon is recognizing it. So, I found this little slide the other day, and I thought this might be a good place for us to start. Whose land do we live on? This is not just a one-way conversation. That I want to interact with you a little bit. Okay, so where we are right now, whose land are we living on? I heard Modocs. Comments? Anybody else? Paiute? Well, so the next question, one of the next questions is what was done to them, right? So we know the Klamath tribes are located out here, right? And we know that it's not just the Klamath tribes who make up the Klamath tribes, right? It's the Klamath, the Modoc, and the Yahuskin and the Paiute, right? But we know that the Paiutes lived further east, right? But they were moved over here. So knowing and understanding our history and how we all got to be in this one place is important. What did they call themselves? What did we call ourselves? Anybody know? What's the Klamath word for Klamath people? Muklux, that means people. I heard Muklux, that means people. But what about the people of the lake? All right. What about the Modocs? What did they call themselves? Come on, this is an easy one. It's Modoc, right? What about Paiutes? It's Numu, right? So knowing what we called ourselves is important too, right? Because essentially that word means the people. If you look at almost every single native tribe and what they call themselves, it's the people, or the people of a certain place, right? So having that connection to the place where you're from is really important because the people who are from those places observed what was happening, and they knew when the plants came, they knew when the animals came, they knew the rounds, and they knew how to take care of those places, right? So the caretakers of those places. The next question, how do you benefit from that? It's kind of a deeper question. It might be a little bit more personal. How do we benefit from what was done to our ancestors? Any ideas? You guys are real quiet today. I'm going to start picking on people. Yeah. Let's think about that for a second. So how do we benefit? When I think about that question, I think about the Modoc War, right? How do we benefit? Like, we survived that, right? But that history has impacted us, and our families have survived those things. And those stories are passed down to our families, right? So we benefit from all of those sacrifices that were made, from the families that were sent to Oklahoma, from the families that stayed, right? Next section. If you can't answer these questions, ask yourself why, and then find out, right? And I've always wondered why We never had these types of conversations when I was in school, right? But you guys are at a time now where this is a school day, and you're here. And we're celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day, and we're able to start having these conversations, right? So these are new things that are happening. This is a proclamation from the state of Oregon, from our governor. So Kate Brown signed this, the first time she did this was last year. And it's recognizing Oregon is home to 9 confederated Native American tribes. 10 if you count Miss Person, even though their homeland, their tribal headquarters are in Idaho, they have tribal land in Oregon too. These Indigenous people have called Oregon home since time immemorial. That's really important. The governor is recognizing and acknowledging this. They're recognizing that our communities have made contributions to knowledge, labor, technology, science, philosophy, arts, and have substantially shaped the character of Oregon. Because we were here before Oregon was Oregon, right? It's also recognizing that in 2011, the ATNI recognized Indigenous Peoples Day instead of people who shall not be named, at least in this presentation. Now, why and how did this happen? There's people sitting in this room who know. The Klamath Tribes Youth Council has obtained a proclamation from Governor Kate Brown making Monday, October 9th, this was last year, Indigenous Peoples Day in Oregon. How awesome is that? We have tribal youth sitting in this room who helped make this happen for the whole state. This is a picture of the current Klamath Tribal Youth Council. So I would like to have members of last year's council and this year's council stand and be recognized. You guys give them a round of applause. Thank you. Set the picture. Right? You guys did something that when I was in high school would have just been an idea or something we talked about. When I started high school, when I was a freshman, was when the 500 years since 1492 happened, right? So that 1992 is when I started high school. And that was just when we started having these conversations about how we were being represented in our own community. You guys go to Medford, Ashland, right? There's a road that you pass so that you can take to go there. It's called what? Dead Indian Memorial Road. When I was in high school, it was called Dead Indian Road. And then they're like, oh, we'll throw a memorial on there. And then it's honoring you, right? So this is how we are starting to question and challenge those things. I grew up in Spray River. There's a road that intersects Spray River Highway that takes you to Klamath Falls. It's called Bliss Road now. It used to have a different name. And those are things that we would talk about. Why are we being represented that way? Who decided this is how we are being talked about or how we're being immemorialized in our own community? So I want to talk a little bit about the importance and the power of you as Native youth, right? And that's a picture from our previous administration, right? So that's Obama, and I believe he was in, it wasn't in Standing Rock, it was, where? Yeah. But he talked to tribal youth, and they created some policies. They started creating opportunities for tribal youth to come to the White House and to talk about what's happening in their communities and to start creating change. The work that you guys do doesn't necessarily have to be at that level, but it can be. Close to 32% of all Native Americans are under the age of 18. There's a lot of you. And you guys have strong, powerful voices. These are some demographics. More than 5 million Native Americans live in the United States, right? So it's a significant number. Alaska, New Mexico, and Oklahoma have the largest Native populations, but Oregon has a lot of Native people too. Did you know that Portland, Oregon has the 9th largest city for population for Native Americans in the whole country? There's a lot of us. The average age of Native people is 26. If you look around the whole country, the average age is 37. So we have a lot of young people, a lot of young voices. That's my little boy, and he's my biggest critic, so you probably don't need to hurry up. But if you look at our communities, we speak over 175 different languages, and there's 567 semi-autonomous nations, right? So there's a lot of us, and we're young, or you're young, right? And those of you who are under the age of 18, in the next 4 years, you guys are all in high school, right? In the next 4 years, all of you guys will be able to vote. So there's a lot of voices and a lot of people at the polls who will be making decisions on who our leaders are, not just in our tribal communities, but our local communities and our national community. And we have, for the first time ever, at least in Klamath County, we have a tribal member running for a political office that's outside of our tribal districts, right? So I wanted to talk about your role in creating Hobina. You guys know what that word means? Change. So it's a picture of a young man talking to an elder, and I think that's probably where we should probably start. Is start looking to our grandparents and to our parents and asking them about the changes that we want to see happen. What was it like when they were young people? What changes have happened in their lifetime? And then we're moving it forward, right? Because I would have never thought that you all would be sitting in this classroom today celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day on a school day, and that the schools would be paying for it. 5 years ago, I probably wouldn't have thought that would have been possible. I've had the good fortune of working with young people for my career. And I wanted to share some opportunities and things that have come out of some of the jobs I've had. This is a picture from when I worked at the Columbia River Intertribal Fish Commission. I was a workforce development specialist, and I worked with the tribal youth from Warm Springs, Umatilla, Nez Perce, and Yakima. And I put on this program called Salmon Camp, and it was a lot of fun. These are tribal youth in Nez Perce, and what we did at the Salmon Camp, it was for middle school kids. What we did at Salmon Camp was we took an opportunity for the tribal youth to get to meet each other, first of all. So it was intertribal, right? So we had 4 different tribes, youth coming from all those different tribes, and we got to camp for a week. But we got to meet with our elders, we got to meet with tribal scientists and figure out what they're doing to help restore salmon runs. These tribes in particular have a very special relationship with salmon, as do we. And they were learning about their sacred role and responsibility in protecting and preserving that part of their life. This is a picture of them out in a camas field, and they were learning how to dig roots. So what does digging roots have to do with salmon, right? This is all about first foods, right? So they were learning how to dig them properly, because there's people who go out and dig roots with shovels and turn over the land, and then it leaves it open. And so one of their scientists, she came out and she told us there was a whole area that was sprayed with pesticides, and it was all barren. There's nothing growing there. And the reason why was because there's a lot of cattle that run through those areas, and they carry a lot of, cattle, they walk through a lot of plants, and they, like foxtails and things like that, will get stuck in their fur. And then when the wind blows, it'll get rooted in these fields. And so, like, if you dig roots and you leave a big clump of dirt there, all those seeds can get rooted and they can get planted. And a lot of times those are invasive species, which means that they are not indigenous to that area and they can take over. And so the reason they had to spray those pesticides there was because the type of plant that rooted would have completely decimated that entire field where they gathered their camas roots. So it's really important when we think about taking care of our community and our land, the impacts that it'll happen. And I was really blessed to be able to work with this community for 5 years. And some of these young people now are going to college and they're studying ways to protect their homelands. And this is really special to see young people taking these initiatives when they're young. This is a picture of a program hopefully some of you have participated in. Anybody recognize it? This is from the summer. Conaway. So Conaway Nagatilicum means what? Those of you who've gone, you should remember. It means all my relations. And it's a Chinook jargon term. So that's a trade language that a lot of tribes would speak when they would go and travel. But it's held at Southern Oregon University every summer. And it's an opportunity for junior high through high school students to not just learn about college, but to also interact with one another and celebrate their culture. When you introduce yourself at Conway, how do you do it? Those of you who've been, do you remember? You introduce yourself, hi, my name's Tana, and I'm proud of who I am, or I'm proud of where I'm from, right? And when I've talked to the people who created that program, they say a lot of times there's Native youth who go to that program and they've never said that before, or maybe they're not really sure about their family heritage, and so they're like, oh, I don't know, I'm part Native, I'm part something else, and everything. I don't feel like super proud. But when they go to this program, they have the opportunity to be proud and to share that and to learn something maybe that they didn't know about their family history. And it's a really special time. There's a lot of really cool friendships that come out of it. I've been a teacher and a counselor at this camp in the past. I haven't done it in a couple of years just because I've been doing other summer camps. But I still stay in touch with them a lot, and I'm hoping to maybe do it next summer. So maybe I'll see some of you at that one too. I just started a new job in January. I'm working still in Portland, but I work for the Northwest Portland Area Indian Health Board, and I'm a youth engagement coordinator there now. And so my job is working with a program called We Are Native. Have any of you heard of it before? I think that's not the shirt though, right? The colors almost look like it.
They don't make any sizes.
They do. I promise. So We Are Native is an opportunity that any tribal youth across the country can participate in. Because it's all around the country, it's virtual for the most part. But it's an opportunity for you to learn about being a healthy person, right? A lot of this is funded by grants that are like suicide prevention, right? So we want to make sure that our tribal youth are healthy in their mind, their body, and their spirit. And the website is really cool too, so you can find answers to questions. We have a section there called Ask Auntie, and you can write in questions, and we have a staff member who actually respond to them. But it's all about health. So we talk about mental health and sexual health and physical health. Like, there's a lot of different ways that we need to keep ourselves healthy. And sometimes we don't always know who to go to ask those questions, right? And so sometimes people don't feel comfortable talking to their parents or their grandparents or siblings or their friends about certain topics and stuff. So this is a safe place that you can go to find information and just peruse the website. Or you can ask questions directly to somebody. And there's a lot of really good staff who are trained as counselors, and We have nurses there and people who can respond appropriately to them. But we also have this opportunity to step into a leadership role where you can become an ambassador, which means that you can share that information to your peers. We can send you gear, we can send you t-shirts and backpacks and sweatshirts and all kinds of goodies and everything. And you can do a fair at your school or do a presentation and stuff. So it's a pretty cool program.
Is there a number you can text?
There is. It is 97779. You can text. I believe for the ambassadors, let's see, that's the number you can text, but there's a ton of different numbers, and then you can get on different streams. Do you remember the We Are Native one? Is it Native?
Yeah, Native.
Yeah. So you can text Native to 97779, and then you'll get text messages, and you'll get information and links to things. The program that I work on specifically is this one here called Youth Delegates. And so the Youth Delegates is a program that's brand new, and it's for youth who are members of the tribes that are part of Oregon, Washington, and Idaho. And it's an opportunity for you to learn about health careers. So if you're interested in becoming a doctor, a nurse, a dentist, a radiological tech, like any level, or you want to become an administrator in the health field, a pharmacist. If you're just interested in exploring those ideas, I would recommend you to check out our website. Will is a really good point person. We stay in touch. We're not recruiting youth right now. We're just in our first cycle, but we'll be recruiting again probably in the fall. But it's an opportunity for you to represent your tribal community, and we send you to conferences. We do quarterly board meetings with the health board, and so this is essentially you being a youth ambassador for your tribe. But it's a lot of fun so far, and we do not have a representative from this area yet. So that's part of my goal, is to see somebody from here at least on that board in the next year. This is from the Center for Native American Youth. They have a program called Champions for Change. This is on a national level. So if you guys are interested in even sharing your stories and being recognized as an ambassador, CNA is a really good platform for that too. There was a student who was from California a couple of years ago. He was one of their first Champions for Change, and he started this program in his school called NERDS. And it was called, I think it stood for Native Education, I can't remember what else it stood for, but it was basically like a study hall for tribal youth in his community and everything. And now like they're creating, he's hosted conferences there in their community. They've started like a national chapter of NERDS. But it's really cool what you can do once you start interacting and connecting with tribal youth from other places. This is a picture of some of the students that I had the opportunity to work with when I worked for Portland State University. And I just wanted to share this because they're doing some really cool things. The guy in the back, he's actually Native Hawaiian, and he graduated from Portland State, and then he went to graduate school at Columbia in New York City, and now he works there. The girl in the front with the glasses, she came to Portland State. She didn't know where she wanted to go to college, and she visited Portland, and she was like, oh, this is really cool here, I really like it. And so she enrolled in school. But she's Navajo, she's from the Navajo Reservation. When she graduated, she ended up going back to her community and working for her tribal college. And she's actually dating the guy in the back, and so now she lives in New York City, and she's working at Columbia as well. You meet all kinds of people in college. The girl in the front with the jacket with the buttons, the tan jacket and the buttons, she just graduated. It took her a few years. She's a first-generation college student. She lived in Portland with her mom and her sister. Her sister had a baby, so she was helping be a caretaker for her nephew. And she finished up her degree in natural resources, and it's really cool because she ended up going to graduate school at University of Idaho and doing this program where she can become an out-of-classroom teacher, right? Do you guys know what that is? So she's not a formal teacher, like she doesn't have a classroom and stuff. She has the opportunity to work with youth, whether it's like through the Forest Service, like if you guys go on field trips to like Crater Lake, or you go to the lava beds and you have somebody there who teaches you about history or things like that. She has the credentials to do something like that. Or she can go back and she can work with the tribal community and do education on first foods or whatever it is she's interested in. So this is really cool, the different types of directions that young people can go in and where you can go with that. But I just wanted to bring it back to this day, and it shouldn't just be one day, right? Like this should be something that we do every day, and not that you guys are getting out of school every day and coming in, we're talking about what we're talking about today, but we should always recognize where we're from. We should always connect with our elders in our community and know what our issues are, and then we should always be preparing ourselves for that next step. Right? Because you guys are getting ready to graduate, or you're just starting high school, and you're starting your career, your educational path. So what we have to do is we have to prepare ourselves. So whether that means talking with your counselor and taking the right classes so that you have all of the options when you graduate, right? I've talked to students a lot about making sure you take math all 4 years and take science all 4 years, just because in case. You never know what you might want to study when you graduate. And you want to be able to step into those doors when you start college or you start a training program and have that background. But make sure that you invest in yourself first and keep yourself healthy and keep yourself grounded and have a path for yourself. It doesn't mean that you know in the back of your head, when I started high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I thought I was going to be a teacher because my auntie was a teacher, and that was like really the person in my family who went to college and had a career, right? And so I was like, oh, I'm going to do what she does. But the whole time I was in high school, I kind of was teaching my younger siblings who like play school and stuff, or I'd be tutoring. So I felt like I was a teacher the whole time. So then by the time I graduated, I was like, I don't want to be a teacher. So I went to school for journalism, and I thought, oh, I want to be a reporter, because out here I never saw really positive stories about my community or our tribal community on the news. I always saw like sad stories or stories about crime or poverty and stuff, and I was like, well, there's some good stuff happening. I want to tell those stories. So that's what I went to college for. But I'm not a journalist either, right? So things change. You go on a different path, but all of those experiences help inform you. And so don't think that like the job you get out of high school is like where you're going to stay. It can be. For me, that's not as fun though, because I got to go different places and I got to meet different people and go to share different stories, and it presents different opportunities for you. I live up in Portland now, but having the opportunity to come out here and talk to all of you, like that's special, because that doesn't happen every day, right? And so I just want you to keep your options open, be proud of who you are, know where you're from, and keep your options open. Celebrate today. It's a special day, and just know I'm proud of you guys, and if you guys need or want to connect in any way, my name's Tana, right there. Last name's Atchley. You can find me on Facebook or Instagram.